So how big is the mountain I just signed up for, voluntarily and of my own free will? Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Shifting Lanes. My name's Chad. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you like what you see at the end of this video. This is my 2008 Volvo C30 hatchback. And if you haven't heard, I'm going to try to make her faster than a brand new Honda Civic Type R. In today's episode, I'm going to dive in one of our good, bad, ugly reviews, like the reviews we do with brand new cars from various different manufacturers and OEMs, but I'm going to do it with a twist. I'm going to take the C30 and put it against the benchmark. That is the Type R. But before we get into any of that, I just want to take a second and thank our sponsor for this video. If you've watched a lot of our videos, you know we love FCPEuro. They are a fantastic company to work with. They have a ton of parts for European cars, Jaguar, Porsche, Mercedes, BMW, Volvo. If it's a European car, chances are they have the parts you need. If that wasn't enough, they offer a lifetime warranty or lifetime replacement on any wear parts. And yes, that even includes motor oil. So let's say you go out and you buy a brand new set of brakes, you drive them for however many miles it takes you to require new brakes, you send them back to them, they'll send you brand new equipment, exactly what you purchased, for free. No, that's not a misprint. No, that's not some special offer they do every so often. That is their policy. So again, you go out there, buy a clutch, buy brakes, they need to be replaced, send them back to FCPEuro, and you'll get them back free of charge. They're a fantastic company. Their customer service is top notch. Their parts are top notch. Biggest question you have to ask yourself is not why FCPEuro, but why you aren't using FCPEuro for all your parts needs. The Civic Type R is something of a sensation, something of a media darling. Everybody who gets behind the wheel of one of those cars loves them. They say it's an absolute marvel because it's only front-wheel drive, and yet it is taking on cars all-wheel drive, like the Focus RS, the Golf R, even the Subaru STI Type RA. So why do I think our 10-year-old Volvo can even stand half a chance at taking down the Type R? Well, that's what we're here to find out today. We're here to find out where we are pretty much stock and just how big the task at hand is to make this thing faster than a Type R. Now, I want to start off by saying the Volvo has some very solid foundations, very solid skeleton, so to speak. And the first really good thing about it is the engine. Now, it is a 2.5 liter 5-cylinder engine. It makes 227 horsepower and 236 foot-pounds of torque. Not anywhere near what the Civic is making, but then again, not untunable. We can get to the Civic power levels fairly easy and fairly inexpensive in this car. And the 5-cylinder has one party piece that makes it an absolute gem of an engine, and that is 5 cylinders, sound absolutely awesome, especially when you put an exhaust on them. Now, this car, she's bone stock, so she doesn't sound, let's say, all that impressive just yet. But one of the first things we're going to be doing to this car is putting a brand new exhaust on her, and I guarantee you we're going to come back and this thing's going to sound absolutely epic. Now, this engine may have the potential to make decent horsepower fairly easily, and it may also have an absolutely glorious soundtrack once an exhaust is applied. It is not without faults. It pulls really hard. It is a turbocharged engine, but you wouldn't necessarily think so when you mash the throttle. It pulls really hard, really early, really low down in the rev range. The problem is that eventually it runs out of snuff much quicker than you thought it would or should. Part of that could be down to just the way the engine's designed. Part of that could also be down to the fact that I have a faulty TCV valve in this car, which I will be replacing very soon. Once we do that, we can then obviously drive around, do some more pulls, and see if that kind of helps with it kind of falling on itself in the higher rev ranges. One of the things I really like about our Volvo is the interior. Okay, so it's not the last word in luxury. It's got cloth seats. There may even be tears in some of the seats. It's aged. It's 10 years old. However, it follows a very simplistic and logical design language, which I absolutely love. If you followed a lot of my reviews on more modern cars, you'll find that a lot of cars nowadays suffer from sensory overload. There's so many buttons and things to control through the touch screen, and things aren't always laid out as logically as you would think they should be. In the Volvo, it's all very simple. It's all right in front of you. Now, yes, it doesn't have stuff like navigation or anything like that, even though it was an option in this car that just happened to be not ticked in the model I got. In fact, as far as I can tell, the only option that the previous owners ever opted in for was the Volvo premium sound system. Everything in this cabin is exactly where you'd expect it to be. So learning this car, and what I mean by that is every time you get into a new car, we notice this a lot more because we frankly review a lot more cars, is that there's a learning curve to finding out where the window switches are, where the radio controls are, where the climate controls are, where all that stuff is. Some cars you learn very quickly. Other cars, it takes a long time because, like I said, there doesn't seem to be as much logic applied to the overall design. And that's where the Volvo shines. Everything is easily reachable. It's where you'd expect them to be. The buttons aren't so small that you kind of have to hunt to find what you're looking for. The knobs aren't enormous and bulbous to where they ruin the look of the interior or anything like that. It's just very smart, very well done. You can tell logical thought went into designing this entire interior. Now, all is not great in this car. It is a very good car. I love a lot of aspects for it, and I think it is a fantastic foundation to make something truly special, truly fun to drive. However, as a stock machine, there are things that are, well, let's just say leave much to be desired. The first thing is, and I mentioned this in previous videos, is the shifter. The throws are much larger than I would have expected or have become used to. And the shifter itself has a vagueness about it. I don't know if that's necessarily a culprit of design or the fact that the car's just 10 years old. Wear and tear has made it not as razor sharp as it originally was out of the factory. Now, the good news is I should be able to fix that with the short throw kit. And thanks to you guys and all your responses to my last video, I'm not left looking for a decent short throw kit. The second thing is that these cars came with an open diff, which isn't so bad at stock power levels, isn't so bad at normal driving, but when you really get on there, and especially with how aggressive the power comes on, torque steer is something of an issue. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it makes the car undrivable. It's a complete mess. It's completely terrible. However, we have big power plans for this car, and we need to address that sooner rather than later. Again, the aftermarket to the rescue. There's not a small supply of limited slip differentials out there that we can put in this car that'll really help us coming out of the corners, really help us with power on, nailing the throttle, helping us maintain speed through the corners, and even just accelerating off the line. And now that brings us to the ugly. The ugly is not necessarily anything inherent to the condition of this car as it sits today, or anything as it pertains to the design of the car when it was brand spanking new back in 2008. The ugly here is just the scale of the mountain that we have voluntarily decided to climb. And that is the absolute beast, the absolute mechanical marvel that is the Civic Type R. It does a phenomenal job of getting its power to the ground. And that's what has me scared a little bit here. I know a lot of you have pointed these things out, but the ugly is, we're gonna look at the tail of the tape, stock versus stock, and just how big a challenge we have in front of us. Now, I want to point out these are not manufacturer claimed times, these are independent tests. The Civic Type R was conducted by Motor Trend, and the C30 was conducted by Edmunds. So, using that as kind of a real-world test, here's how we stand. Horsepower, Civic Type R is 306, we have 227. Torque, Type R, 295, we only have 236. Now, believe it or not, that's going to be the easiest thing to fix. Gets a little more difficult from here. The Type R is 1.6 seconds faster to 60 than the C30 is stock. It does the quarter mile in 13.7 seconds versus 15.1 from the C30. Again, about a second and a half we have to shave off. Braking, well, the Type R does that from 0 miles an hour in 99 feet. C30, 117 feet. Again, that should be something we should be able to really bring down fairly easily with aftermarket parts available. And curb weight. Hey, we actually have an advantage here. As tested, the Civic Type R weighed in at 3,117 pounds. And our C30, as equipped, which is basically bone-ass stock with a premium sound system, is 2,970 pounds. So, huzzah, we actually have an advantage. Doesn't mean squat right now, but we actually have an advantage. So how do we scale the seemingly unscalable mountain? Well, there's an old adage, poses the question, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So we're gonna be picking off little projects here and there on the C30 until we have something. So how do we scale the seemingly unscalable mountain? Well, there's an old adage, and it poses the question, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer, one bite at a time. So we're gonna be picking off little projects here and there until we have something that we can take up against the Type R. So next week, we're gonna be replacing the turbo control valve, and I'm also gonna be explaining why getting an upgraded TCV is such an important mod for anyone who owns these cars. The video after that will be us tackling some stage 0 stuff, oil change, coils, spark plugs, all of that fun stuff. In that same time frame, we're gonna have the axles replaced, so we're gonna have brand new, genuine Volvo axles on this thing. Then after that, we're gonna take it to the dyno and see just how much power this thing has lost in its 10 years in existence. After that, we get into the fun stuff, power adders, exhaust, tune, intake stuff, suspension, brakes, LSD, all of that fun stuff. So this build's gonna get really exciting really soon, and I hope you stick around for the ride. And that's it, guys. We have a really good base. This car is really solid as a skeleton. She just needs some love, she just needs some work, and hopefully we can be taking on the Type R relatively soon. I just want to thank you for watching. As always, you can find Shifting Lanes on social media at Shifting Lanes. You can find me on social media at Chenedy83. Don't forget to check out our Teespring account below. Buy some sweet swag. By next week, I should have some Volvo shirts for you, some C30 shirts, so definitely stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.